Step number 23 brings us to assembling the wiper assembly for the steering rack. Pretty straightforward. We've laid out all the pieces and parts. Again, they refer to these two pieces as being 85-460, and again we found them on the same tree, which is 85-414. So if you can't find them, that's where they're going to be. How are we going to start to tackle this? Let's go ahead and take this center spacer unit, and there is no up or down, it doesn't matter which direction it goes, and we're going to drop the two aluminum spacers right down in top. They just slide right down on, and then we will use our two screws here. I have to grab the right wrench again, and we're going to go ahead and drop those down in, and it's going to go onto the little side nub that is on each of the wiper to tie the two together. So we're going to go ahead and screw these in. You want to torque them down good. The little top hat spacers there are going to allow them to properly rotate. You just want to make sure that they don't bind up. Should move freely. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the next side here. And screw this one in. And one more time, check to make sure that there is no binding. Should move freely. Not quite sure why they have us building the rest of this in this step, but we are following the directions. So we are going to take our top posts, our steering post, and slide them down through the bearings until they go all the way through both bearings. And we're going to turn the unit over and install the bottom brace. You can see that there's two little points that come out that are going to hold into the chassis, and then you have a space here, one each for the steering posts to go into. So go ahead and put your steering posts in. And again, I'm not sure why they have us doing this at this portion of the build, but they do. When you're done, it should look like this from the bottom. And like this from the top. And now we get the privilege of putting our turnbuckles on. These are always fun. There is a left and a right. If you take a look at the turnbuckle itself, if we can focus in here, you're going to see a line that goes around one side, and it's not on the other. You're going to want to choose a direction and put both of them in the same direction. So this one, I'm going to choose to have it to my left as I'm looking at it. So that means that this one is going to go to my left as I look at it too. So the lines are here and here. Basically what that does is it keeps them in the same direction, so that when you're adjusting your toe in and toe out, if you move the tie rods in one direction on either side, you know that that's going to be going out. You move it in the direction on the other way, it's going to be coming in. If you have them opposites, you're never going to know which way to properly turn. So, little secret there. So, very simply, see if we can do this without pliers. Just going to set it over the ball, and we're going to push down until it seats. You can use pliers on it if you want to, but I can usually get them on by hand. That's what your steering assembly is going to look like. In step number 24, we're going to match up the steering wiper assembly and somewhat attach it to the front unit here. It's going to be a little bit loose, and excuse me, once that we do get it all together, so you're going to have to be careful that parts don't fall off, because we're going to set this unit aside once we're done and work on another part of the vehicle. What we're going to do is take a look at the steering wiper posts, which are right here, and they are going to match up to the little holes that you see in these braces that we put on earlier. So, trying to think of the best way to do this, I'm just going to pick the assembly up, hold on to it, and match it up, and slide it in. There we go. And this is what it should look like once it's in. The servo saver portion, where I put the tape on, should be towards the back, and the tie rod ends should be towards the front. And then we're going to snap the tie rod ends onto the arms, and again we're going to do that by pushing on them, or we may resort, if you can't do that, to using a pair of pliers. Go ahead and see if we can get this side on. There we go. Okay. So that's how it should look, and that's how it operates. If you want, you can hold on to the bottom here, because they will fall off. If you want to test it, you can set it down like so and check it out. The other thing that we're going to do right now is check for play in the steering posts, because there's generally a huge amount of play in there, and we're going to want to get rid of that. And as you can see, if you just hold these together, so that there's pressure on there, and lift up and down on the wiper, you can see that there's a lot of play in there. And again, optionally, you can see that one has play in it also. Optionally, we're going to use the Team FastEddy steering post shims, and we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. Just by looking at it and by the feel, these are the steering post shims, I know that we're only going to need one shim per side. So you can put them on either the top or the bottom, that's up to you. This way, building it this way, it's easier to put them on the bottom. If you're repairing or it's in your vehicle already, we're probably better served doing it from the top. But we're going to go ahead, and those decided to pop out on us. Take that off and slide a shim under there. One on each side. Put it back on and test it again. And to test it, we're going to put pressure on there so that it's fully captured, and very little play now. That one, we're all set. And again, using the steering post shims are optional. We're going to set this piece aside now to work on another part of the vehicle. I'm going to suggest that you find a nice secure place for it, because it's going to be a little while till we get back to it. Also, you're going to want to leave it stored like this, with this portion up in the air, so that nothing is falling off. Step number 25 is an easy one, and I like it. Basically, we're going to open up your bag C. So moving on from step number 25 to step number 26, we want to get our electronics set up. And the reason that we want to do this is so that we can make sure that our steering servo and our throttle servos are centered properly, so that when we put it all together, we don't have any issues arising from them not being centered. So go ahead. I'm not about to tell you how to set up your radio and your equipment. That's up to you. There's so many different ones out there. But I've gotten it set up, and on mine, just want to make sure that all of your trims are set to 0, and all your sub trims are set to 0, and everything is all zeroed out. And then from there, you'll go ahead and turn everything on, and make sure that you're, how do you like that? Dancing servos. Woo! Dun, 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 dun. All I need is a pole. But okay, so we just want to make sure that the servos are working properly, and at that point that everything is zeroed out. Once everything is zeroed out, you can go ahead and shut off your radio and disconnect
Step number
everything.
27,
We're going to deal with putting the servo horn onto the steering servo. It's fairly simple and pretty straightforward. We're going to go ahead and start off by putting the ball onto the arm. And don't ever really plan on taking this ball off. Once they're on, and really no need to change them. It is metal to metal, so I'm going to use a small amount. I'm going to use red Loctite on this just for security. I don't want it coming out. And we're going to insert the ball onto the front of the horn. The front of the horn, you can see the printing on it, and also it is smooth around here as compared to going in with the splines to hold it on. The back has the webbing, so we're going to want to put this on to the front of the servo. We're going to use the top hole. This is metal to metal, so do use Loctite. The second part, we're going to install the clamp screw into the bottom. You can see the screw area right here and a little coned area there, so we're going to put it in here. This is again a metal to metal connection, so we're going to use some Loctite. This one we may take off, so we're just going to use some blue Loctite on there, and really don't need all that much. And don't tighten this up. We're just going to screw it in and leave a little bit so it doesn't close this little gap. Now we're going to put the servo arm on the servo. As we do this, we are going to hold the servo so that we're looking at it like so, and we're going to put the servo arm on, and you can see at this point we're putting it on and it is directly up and down. That is not how you want to do it. You want to find directly up and down. Very carefully slip the servo horn off and move it one click to the right. So it's about 1 o'clock to the right. Not straight up and down. And again, if you mess up your direction of where this is centered, plug your electronics back in, because you do want to get this right the first time. Now that that's in, we're going to use a little bit of blue Loctite, and this particular screw has a flange on it. See if we can get a better, there we go. It's a flange screw, and this is the one that's going to hold the servo in. Put a little bit of Loctite on there. We're going to put that in and snug her down. And then we're going to tighten up the cinch bolt on the side, so it has double protection and it's not going to come off. And that's how we do step number 27. So when this is centered, it's about 1 o'clock. Let's go ahead and dig out all of our parts for step number 28, and we're going to mount the steering servo onto the steering box.